I'm Malcolm Blawes. I joined Black Dyke Mills Band as I left school in 1953. I did 2 years before doing national service in the Armoured Corps in the military band and came back in 57 to join the band again. At that time I came back on the only vacant position, which was second baritone to John Slinger. And I spent 10 to 15 years after that in the band on various instruments, euphoniums, baritones and tenor horns, finishing of course on tenor horn. From there on we did all the normal brass band stuff, starting with competitions, small and big. We did concerts in all the parks, in the bandstands. We did concerts in all the theatres, the St George's Hall, Huddersfield Town Hall, anywhere else that had a theatre. We did the contests mainly at the Bellevue and at London at the Albert Hall. But we did other contests in the smaller regions as well, i.e. Good Friday contests and bits like that. I was obviously a young member when I came, among mostly old people, and from there on I became one of the older ones as the young ones came in. I went to school at Carlton Grammar School in Bradford, and at that time each school had brass tuitions as part of music lessons, and we had a chap called Mr Atkinson, and he was actually, we called him Old Arthur Atkinson because he was one of the early generations. The Atkinson family in Bradford was the instigators of various brass bands and obviously teaching in schools and on demonstrations for schools and education and all sorts of things of that type. And I came through the Bradford Boys Brass Band to the Bradford Brass Band, which was like the senior version of the boys. And from then, after about 2 to 3 years with the second band, the senior band, I was asked if I'd come up for an audition to Black Dyke, and which I did in 1953, about June, July time, as I left school at 16. From there on, I stayed with the band right through and did all the full work, growing older and older, and then eventually retired. But through that time, the band did everything to do with bands. I mean, we did, there was no television or very little television, but every month we did at least one radio programme, every month, at least one. And on top of that, we did the concerts and engagements. So we were a very, very busy unit. We travelled all over the country, from the Channel Islands up to Scotland, and we did everything that was demanded of entertainment in those days. From there on, things developed that the financial side seemed to be running okay, but the mill side had started to contract, so the support was very hit and miss from that side. And at this time the band had to really rethink its situation. From that, the band has gone from very good systems and very well organised and quite a good unit. When I came at first, our principal cornet was Billy Lang, We had time in on the euphonium, of course, Jeff Whittam. On tenor hall was Gordon Sutcliffe, Maurice Murphy, and from Maurice then we went on to Jim Shepherd. Until the Foster's Mill closed, it was very, very, very good. The Mr. Foster, who was on the photograph, he was a really keen supporter of the band and was involved with the band. And being a director of the band, he helped the band as much as he could. But things had to go through the directorships. So the board meetings really controlled the finance of it. But we I don't know much about long-term finance, but we had what we wanted for anything. If we needed a new instrument, one appeared. If we needed uniforms, and new uniforms, eventually we got them, new style uniforms. But of course the mill was making its own material. So all the material for the uniforms came from our workplace. Went to Leeds to be tailored and came back and they all fit and they looked well. I was poached from the Bradford City van and I came up for an interview and obviously an audition, and then they took me away on a week's employment at Plymouth Hall, playing in the summer season on the Hall, in the marquee, which was, it held about 500 people, the marquee. So we had two concerts per day for a week on Plymouth Hall. And that's my first thoughts of Black Dyke. From then on, we had another trip somewhere. I think we went to the Channel Islands, to Guernsey after that. And then when we came back in September, I started working the mill and on a job which suited me. So and we spent a long time in the mill, as most people did. But the mill, my department, was gradually closing down. The Fosters themselves had bought a unit up in Cumnock in Ayrshire, which was a development area. So they took machines out of our department. So in consequence, we weren't producing. So at that time, my finances weren't good. So I moved on. I did about 3 or 4 years not working at the mill, but playing in the band. And then eventually I retired from the band. Well, Alex Mortimer was the famous conductor that was here as the conductor when I came. It was Alex Mortimer that set me on, interviewed and obviously did all the work. Prior to Alex, his brother was the professional conductor. Alex and Harry Mortimer was the professional conductor for the band for a number of years. And then Alex took it over as a bandmaster. We didn't have a professional at the first. Alex did all the work and all the conducting at contests and all this sort of thing. Major Wilcox came up to the band room gradually over 2 to 3 weeks, and we had the music for about a month, which we rehearsed strongly on our own. And then Major Wilcox came and altered it to suit what was written, not how we had written it, what was actually written on the sheets. So obviously the second couple of weeks we practiced that, and then the final week the Major spent a lot of time with us and we did it as he wanted it, which obviously caused a great sensation. We came first that year and it was the best and most memorable time I've ever had. Jeff Whittam was a senior euphonium player, and his solo was played better than any other band on the stage. It was perfect, and it was a very difficult thing to do because of the pitch and the tone, plus the fact that the scale was very high, but the pitch and the tone had to be right as well. We couldn't believe how it worked. But the whole piece was built around exceptionally good music for brass band playing. It's not just the euphonium, it was the whole band and the whole, the tenor horns, the cornets, and the whole band music of that piece suited the band. It suited Black Dyke better than any other band. And obviously the rehearsals and work we put into it improved us to be capable of playing it very well. Well, it's a history these days. There is still very little bit of textile in the Bradford area, and there's quite a lot, but it's always in little bits. So in consequence, the big bits have gone where everybody was employed and everybody knew everybody else. So the little bits are there. But of course the machinery is entirely different. So there was no, you got a machinist, but no camaraderie, because at that time every machine had a person and they all worked together as machinists, helping and doing all the jobs. These days the machines do the work, and the guy that runs it is an engineer running the machine, which of course is probably a computer engineer anyway. We normally came home a bit late, so normally we didn't march down the street, but we would do if we came home at a reasonable time. In the olden days, there was a train, and probably all lived in the village and got off the station and had about a mile's walk uphill with a handcart and all their instruments and luggage on to get to the band room, and they'd march down the village then on the way home. But we were coach people. We had buses. The old Legard bus in Bradford took us where we wanted to go. So in consequence, the timing, if we didn't finish a concert in London until 10 o'clock at night, we came home at 4 o'clock in the morning. So obviously we didn't march down the street at 4 o'clock in the morning. It wouldn't have gone down right well. Well, I think everybody's established themselves now. In music, the brass band still features, and in education it still features. So I think it's found a level that it'll probably hold on to and possibly develop a little bit. But the kids, it's surprising how many kids do play brass instruments in all areas as well. So it's a way that they do it, but whether they ever get to the talent that we got in the old days is very difficult to say. But there must be places, well, there's places in orchestra as well as brass bands where good musicians always get a job. Well, we came up a slope, didn't we?
Yeah.
From the,
Yeah.
up. And there were about 5 or 6 steps onto the band room level, which was a bit lower than this, I think. I don't know, it's a bit difficult. And it was a working room, not a band room as such. I mean, all one end was cabinets and cupboards with music in, of all sorts. And it was surprising what, there's a lad called Eric Bland, who looked after the music, and he knew every item he had there, and he went straight for it. And a full wall full of things that people might have written and given to us to test, and all this sort of thing. Plus all the other things that you get in music. So that was part of the band room. That's about all we had, because downstairs there was part of the mill, and there was actually the shop, which took over the small, and next door to us was a fish and chip shop. So we were quite a compact unit. I think it was Major Wilcox complained about the band room being a bit echoey. So when he came up next time, the whole floor was covered with sacks, because obviously with no carpets or anything. So they'd gone into the mill and brought a sack cart full of sacks up and put them all over the floor to try and stop the echoing. And it actually worked, because the band room was so small that just that little bit stopped the echoes. All sorts of things happened like that, because you were a unit trying to do the best. I can remember Mr. Foster coming with a reel-to-reel recorder, which was very, very up to date in those days, and rehearsing the rehearsals with Major Wilcox for the band contest, and he did that in the back, in the side of the band room, and we all listened to what we were played and altered what Major Wilcox said. Look, someone's played this and it's not right, someone's played that and it's not right. So we all heard it, not just listening to him, but we actually heard the music and agreed with him and altered it to suit. So things like that didn't happen anywhere else. And so that was very, very early days of reel-to-reel recordings. When the band won the London or Bellevue contest, the trophy was obviously kept in the director's room in the mill. But if we went to a concert, we always took the trophy with us, and the mill provided us with 2 security people to look after the trophy, which came in the band bus and stayed with us, but stayed in the band bus when we went for a drink. Obviously the Bellevue trophy as well, which was a big shield, that was looked after in the same way. And from time to time, the lads did a big job, because we won both trophies one year, more than once, and they had to look after them, 2 trophies, quite a lot. But that was, one of the thoughts that we did. I don't know if they still do it in these days or not, but we were very proud that we had won things against all the other bands, and there were a lot of good bands around, a lot of good bands. I mean, the Miners had good bands from the northeast, obviously Yorkshire's Collieries, in Lancashire, the Fairy Band and various others over there, and then of course you get down the Midlands and London, there were good brass bands. So we were a proud outfit to be doing so well, and obviously enjoyed the good times.